of your list. Now this next place is a magical cabin in the Enchanted Woods. I can see you're interested already. This is a pre-war building constructed entirely out of gingerbread, cake, and pastries. I know what you're thinking. If it's pre-war, those must be some really old baked goods. Well, don't you worry. Silver has just upgraded the structure with top-of-the-line hard candy for greater structural stability. One more thing before we go in. I do have to disclose that something slightly traumatic happened in this house. Hang on. Is that a camera? Are you filming this? Okay, we're done here. Shut it down.
The famine hit all of us very hard. I would say students coming to school hungrier and hungrier. Even the students whose families tended to be a little bit more financially were struggling. I mean, no amount of money in the world can help if there just isn't any food to buy. I think I can take a little bit of credit for those two surviving. No, really. I had just done a lesson about how important it is to take notes or leave yourself reminders if you're in a difficult problem so that you can retrace your steps if you want to start over or something like that. And wouldn't you know it, those two kids made their way back 1.5 times. Yes, I'm counting what happened with those birds as half credit for the praise for my teaching. I mean, you can't blame me for eating free food that gets left around. We're in the middle of a famine right now. Everyone is struggling. It isn't my fault that the kids decided to leave a trail of breadcrumbs for all things. What did they think was going to happen? Now let me explain it to you this way. In a famine, there is a lack of food for everyone, not just people, animals too. That's the real problem, is that you humans don't have respect for animals. We have to eat too, you know. And if some kids don't have the common sense to have perfectly good food lying around in the middle of a famine, you can't blame me for trying to survive. And it was plain white bread too. Next time, do you think you might spring for a loaf of rye or something? Come on.
When those kids left the breadcrumbs trail, I was a little torn, you know. Yes, I'm hungry. Yes, we're all hungry. But breadcrumbs, how's that going to fill me or anyone else up? But then I saw it. There's this bird that was trailing behind all the breadcrumbs. So I thought, I could have a bird for lunch. And that is what I decided to do. I crept behind the bird for miles. Not too close though, because you don't want to scare the little guy away. I crept up closer and closer. Finally, I pounced. Right as the bird had eaten the last breadcrumb and flew off. And as I landed in a bush of thorns, I'm still picking those out of my fur. I had plenty of food. I saved it because I saw that a famine was coming. The weather was changing. We weren't getting as much rain as we used to, so I figured we would run out of food if we didn't do something. So I saved up. No one asked me to share though, because I'm a skunk, I guess. There's a bit of a stigma attached to animals like me. I would have loved to give out food to the animals in the forest, to give them some food, some company, or just a hug. But no one trusts that I won't spray them. And I get it, I do. I don't like the spray smell either, but it's the only defense I have against predators. Unless you're planning on trying to steal the food I have, you don't need to worry about that. If anyone is listening, I'm always willing to help. Just have to come and ask.
I don't know why these people didn't just go to their pantry and get some food. That's what we did here at the palace. There's so much food, I had to throw some of it away. I would offer it to some of the townspeople, but I didn't want to be insulting or patronizing. People like to earn things for themselves, you know? They don't want charity. I mean, look at me. I work for what I have. I have to walk all the way down to the kitchen and ask the cook to prepare food for me. And that's hard work, you know? I keep up with my steps on my Fitbit. I'm basically a marathoner at this point. Going to the kitchen and back to the living room chambers, and sometimes the cook doesn't prepare food for me. So I have to go back to the kitchen, back and forth, back and forth. They should give me a medal for all the sacrifices I'm making. I'm like Mother Teresa, but with better hair.
There was too much food in the palace during the famine. I started sneaking baskets of food out the window so that the men and women who worked on castle grounds would have something for themselves or to take home to their families. Mother thought she was throwing away food, but what really happened was our making sure things were properly packaged and given away to the people who really needed it. I wish we had done enough for the entire kingdom, but there's only so much one can do. If nothing else, it feels good to know that I've helped a few people who live and work nearby. But don't tell Mother. She thinks she deserves an award because she managed to treat the cook like a human being instead of ringing a bell and yelling across the castle. And I swear, if I get one more friend request from her Fitbit, I'm gonna scream. Ding. Ah!
Yes, I sent the kids out to the forest alone, but it wasn't my idea. My husband, he thought that maybe they could go rummaging for different berries or grain or something in the forest. I'm honestly not sure what he thought they were going to find. Afterward, I found out that his plan wasn't that they would find food and bring it back, but that he planned on taking them to the middle of the woods and leaving them there to starve so that there would be more food to go around our house. I was shocked. I had no idea that's what he wanted to do. Okay, yes, fine. I knew, and it was my idea, but isn't it a good idea? It's simple mathematics. If you have 20 pounds of food for 4 people, that's 5 pounds each. But if there are only 2 people, that's more, right? I'm not great at math. I'm not a bad person, am I?
You were just all jealous that you didn't have the idea first. There's a famine, and you're hungry and are afraid of animals and don't like foraging, so what do? Starve? No, thank you. I did what a self-respecting witch would do. I built a house out of candy to lure children so I could eat them. I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, I guess I could have used some of the ingredients I used from the house for myself, but where's the protein in that diet? That's all carbs. And the plain fact is that you are jealous that you didn't come up with the great idea I did first. I'm a trendsetter. I'm a forward thinker. I'm an innovator. Fine. It didn't work out when I got some pretty bad burns and a little brat pushed me into the oven. It almost worked. And almost is better than not ever. I mean, I guess I could have just not cast the spell for the famine in the first place, but where's the fun in that? Everyone complaining about a famine. I didn't have trouble finding food at all. I can scavenge. It isn't pretty, but it's an important part of food chain and a balance of an ecosystem. Sure, there are fresh food, but we aren't exactly standing in the parking lot of Whole Foods right now, are we? It's easy. You show it until another animal's weak because they haven't eaten, and then you eat. The problem is I'm not the highest scavenger on the food chain, so I always have to watch my back while I'm waiting for my dinner to get too tired to run. Stuck in the middle, like a filling of an Oreo. Ooh, Oreos sound really good right now. Do you have any cookies? No? Well, do you need to lie down? I promise I'm trying to find funny business. None at all. Oh, I can't send me out cookies now. Where's that witch's house? It's got cookies, right? All right, I burnt it down. Well, back to scavenging.
I heard about those poor kids that got kidnapped by the witch. And I think that it's just awful. I would help, but you know, I'm a guinea pig. I live in the cage and it's like, let me out of here. But also it's comfortable, so I can't complain too much. The wood chips are warm, and the princess feeds me plenty and gives me water. I have it pretty good here. I can't get a ball up to 2 people I don't even know. Can I? I'm too little anyway. Well, I guess if I teamed up with some friends and we all worked together, we could make a difference. But that's hard, and I have it easy here. I mean, look around. This cage is pretty roomy. You can't find places like this anymore. It's not as big as the witch kept those kids in, but it's really fine. I really should have helped somehow. It's easy to sit and talk about it, but it's harder to do the right thing. Squee.
Being on top of the food chain is pretty easy to fan. Honestly, you just have to show some self-control and ration your supply. You can't go hunting everything all at once. You just have to pace yourself. And it doesn't help when there's an annoying little fox running around the forest thinking she's the apex predator around here. I'm apex predator. Me. Look at me. I'm terrifying. See? We're out. Anyways, yeah, I was hunting those 2 little kids that would have made a nice week and a half of meals. Easy, but they saw a cat. And kids
love cats, so they started chasing the cat. And surprise, surprise, it led them right to the witch's cottage. I miss my moment. There ought to be a rule about interfering with the work of a predator. We've got to eat here too, you know.
The simple fact of the matter is that the witch was well within her rights to do what she did. We're in the middle of a famine, people of famine. We are all struggling to survive. Does it matter if the witch casts a spell to cause the famine? No, I don't think it does. A witch is gonna do what a witch is gonna do. It is in their nature. Yes, I've heard the arguments, nature versus nurture, and I don't think they apply here. The fact is that those who children damage your property and stole food from someone during a famine. Shouldn't a witch defend what belongs to her? And where are those brat spirits doing all this? They should be laying the lid on them. If they had just kept those kids at home, we wouldn't even be having this discussion right now. The plain truth is that if anyone is to blame, it certainly isn't a witch. She's just trying to survive.
I do some regrets about what happened. I didn't know that when I was out to play that morning, that I'd be lurking to children back to the house. Apparently, that was the plan all along, and I fell for it. I take responsibility for that. That is partially my fault that those 2 kids got kidnapped, but I tried to help them escape too, so I think it balances out. While the witch was away, I made sure to leave a few mouse bones around their cages so they could pick the locks, and escape. How was I supposed to know they didn't teach lock picking in schools anymore? It's a lost art, really. No, I don't live with the witch anymore. Not after what she did. I heard her talking about doing those kind of things, but I just thought she was joking. Once she actually went through with it, I had to make a decision for myself that I wasn't going to support that kind of behavior. I only regret I didn't leave sooner.
I made a new friend after the famine ended. Isn't it great? There was this cat that showed up right when the rains came, and she was soaking wet, and I felt bad for her. So I let her into the palace, and she hides under my pillow so the queen doesn't steal. I share some of my food and water with her to make sure she is taken care of, and make sure she has a cozy place next to the fire. Something happened to her before she came here. I can tell, but she doesn't want to talk about it. She talks in her sleep sometimes, and I think it has something to do with those 2 kids that went missing for a while at the witch's house. I want to help my friend, but if I brought it up out of the blue, she'd think I'm eavesdropping on her dreams, and I'm not, and I don't want to be that kind of dog. I want to help my friend, but I have to respect their boundaries until they are ready to talk. I'm also busy, a lot of barking at tree shadows, so I've got a lot on my plate.
Since the rains have came back and the famine is over, we've been working with a lot of people across the kingdom to make sure they are eating better and planning ahead so this sort of thing doesn't happen again. To take care of themselves and their families. We've lived in isolation for a lot of the time, but it's important to be able to depend on your friends and neighbors, and vice versa. Sure, there's going to be some selfish people that only think of themselves, but you can't change the world in a day. All I can do is help people to learn to take care of each other and others as a community, so this sort of thing doesn't happen again. It clearly helps that those 2 kids were a part of it. Part of our mission. They wanted to help everybody after everything that has happened, and they went back to the witch to go forgive her. And when I see that kind of kindness and that generosity, makes me feel a little better about the future.